Madam President, it's a great honour to be here on such an auspicious occasion, and may I actually congratulate, if I may, the former President for the wonderful work that he did, which enabled us a year or so later then to face each other across this chamber as we used to do then. I'd like also, if I might, if it's allowed, just to congratulate Camilla, not only on a wonderful speech that she's just made, very unusual for the opposition to congratulate the proposers, but also to put on record my enormous admiration for the work that you do in Kids Company and how you carry that wonderful work forward. Now, Madam President, when I was a member here a very long time ago, I've got quite a lot of the photos of those days up in my downstairs loo, and I was the librarian. The secretary was Giles Brandreth. When I first entered the chamber, the president was a socialist called Ronnie Cohen. The person who stood against me for president and won was a character called David Walter. And speaking from the floor was a curly-haired young lad with the name of Bill Clinton. Which all goes to show that, of course, if you go on to work for breakfast TV, Madam Secretary, you'll end up as a national treasure. If you're a socialist, you'll go to the city and you'll end up as a billionaire. If, like David Walter, you go and work as the press officer for the Liberal Democrats, you'll end up in total obscurity. And if you can only speak from the floor, you may end up as leader of the free world. And if you're male and have curly hair, who knows, you'll have all sorts of young ladies offering to bring you cigars. I tell you what, though, the toilets are an awful lot better than they were in our day, aren't they, Michael? Absolutely. This is in many ways a very strange proposition that we've heard tonight. Effectively, what I think the proposers do is they say, yes, we agree, we're all feminists now. A great deal has been achieved, but not enough. And at least my two colleagues on the opposition have said, no, we're not all feminists now. A great deal has been achieved, but it's not enough. I'm in a different category entirely. I'm not a feminist. I have never been a feminist. I'm never likely to be a feminist, and there are all sorts of reasons why not. Let me come to those in a moment. The proposer was talking about the days back then when there were only 5 women's colleges in Oxford, and there was a discussion in the college about whether the chaps and the girls had to come in by 10 or 10:30. I had to be in by 10:30 at St Anne's. We also had a rule which was actually a concession, and you can guess what the concession was, that said that we could have men into our rooms before 10:30, but we could only have up to 2 men. True. What the heck they thought we were going to get up to with 2 men, we wouldn't get up with 3, goodness only knows. But there was actually an occasion when my parents and my brother were visiting, and my boyfriend wanted to come into the room, and one of them, either my brother or my father, had to actually leave and go and stand outside. It was a completely ridiculous world. On one occasion, I made a point of climbing out of St John's College at 11:15 at night and climbing into St Anne's at 11 o'clock and landing in the arms of the Dean, Mrs Bednarovska, so that I could be taken in the following morning and ticked off and say to her, I think this is completely ridiculous. I come from Liverpool. I've had a door key since I was 14. I've just spent the last year in America on my own in New York, and you're telling me that I have to be in by 10:30 at night? It's infantilizing. And soon afterwards, well, it didn't exactly stop. For there onwards, you could have a man in your room overnight at St Anne's, provided you paid for extra linen. I got fined 2 and 6. Right, well, that was all before the equality laws, and it meant that it was legal to discriminate women, as indeed it was legal to discriminate against all sorts of people, and in many ways it still is. But I would put the point to this House that it changed not because of the burning bras of the 1960s, any more than women got the vote in 1918 because women had changed themselves to the railings or had thrown themselves under the king's horse. It changed, I think, because in the end, reasonable people could see the reasonableness of just saying there should be equality under the law. And that is an argument that I have made in all sorts of other fields ever since. There should be equality under the law. Those who argue for discrimination have got to make the argument about why it is a good thing. And in that sense, therefore, I stand for equality, but I'm not a feminist, and I do not think that the ways of feminism, the arguments of feminism, are the way forward. I actually object to feminism, Madam President, on two main areas. One is cultural, and one is practical. Now, the cultural side. Well, we've heard a little bit of this tonight. You see, the problem with the kind of feminism that we used to hear back in the 60s and the 70s and many years since, the kind of feminism actually has one very big problem for a woman like me. It's the kind of feminism that actually hates men. And I have a problem with that, because especially on Valentine's Day, Madam President, I don't hate men. I love men. And I learned to love them here, in this city. I love men, and I'm one of the vast majority of women that love men, and that I really don't want to see them in any way being discriminated against. And there's something also, I listened to Cindy, who I've not heard speak before, with greatest interest. But again, I pick up something that I heard when I went to see the Vagina Monologues and came out thinking, that is not about me. What it excludes, I think, and it's a cultural thing, is it says, you know, if you're going to have gender equality, you have to have men and women the same. And the cultural norm that you appear to be exhibiting as what we should be inspired to try and achieve is the male one. And for me, that is not right. For me, that is absolutely not the way to go. The reason I didn't like Vagina Monologues is, in the end, the whole show, the whole of the debate, and so much that I heard when I was a student and when I was a young married wife as well, was all about how women could take control of their own fertility, fine, and they could do exactly what the men did, and I thought, what? And they would then be as good as the men, they would be the male equals, and then you could divide society 50-50 and possibly the national debt and all the rest of it as well. And I'm thinking, I don't go with this. I really don't go with this. Not only do I love men, I mean, do you remember, Michael? Do you remember those days? You're not so old that you've forgotten. Do I want to bet? Well, you know the story of the old gent, about our age, I should think, actually, who goes with his wife on Valentine's night, and they go out for a meal, and they come back, and she says to him at the bottom of the stairs, "Carry me up and make love to me." And he says, "I could do one or the other." That, beware, everyone here. This is where you are going in future, so make the most of it while you've got it, believe me. Now, the cultural side of this, I think, has real problems. Because one of the problems with this idea that we are equal to men and that we should imitate in some way the male thing, is that it denigrates and diminishes the life experience and history of most women, even in a country like this. Most women in a country like this actually want to become and do become mothers. Most women in a country like this want and are lucky enough if they get long-term commitment from a man to a man. I think so highly of marriage that I've been married twice. I think so highly of marriage, of course I would have voted for equal marriage for gays or anybody else, just about. But the experience of most women does not conform to that feminist picture. And the feminists seem to feel that the women who make other choices are making wrong choices. And the net result of that, in the 40, 50 years that we are celebrating since, is that much progress has not been made. And it troubles me very much. My mother's generation, born at the turn of the last century, felt they had to make a choice between home and a career, and they chose home. My daughter's generation seems, for other reasons, to feel that they have to make a career between a choice between a home and a career, and they choose a career. And the net result of that is that you want them to become CEOs of top companies. They get to 40 or 45, the next step's IVF, and the next step is they discover how wonderful it is to have your child put into your arms, and how actually that can be one of the most important things that you ever do. If you don't believe me, ask your own mothers. It's one of the most precious things we can do. My generation looked at the choices between home and career and chose to do both. And it is not easy to do both. And you'll find you're doing one part-time while you're doing the other full-time, and vice versa. And you'll find that childcare is always going to be a problem. And you'll find, especially if you're in the circumstances that I was in, that it's going to cost you a fortune and you're going to be skint. But hey, you get towards the end of the main bit of child rearing and you have a career as well. And that's my cultural objection to feminism, that it rules out so many of the experiences of so many women. It so denigrates what they do, and as a result, I think it is actually not the right way forward. There's also a practical side, because I think feminism makes victims of us all. One of the slightly cruder versions of feminism, if you like, says the reason that there are so few women, or there aren't enough women, or whatever figure you want to produce, while there aren't enough women at the top in this or that or the other profession, is the men stop us. I've heard this from you, didn't I?
Madam President, I have a point of order. Yes. I would like to suggest that whilst it would greatly disappoint our final two speakers that we should finish this debate now, I believe my side has definitively proved that we're not all feminists now.
I didn't. Madam President, we did not set that up between us. I promise you. Entirely original. But the trouble with the idea that it's all men's fault, or it's all the system's fault, is that then it seems to me that women are very often being set up to fail. That you're not going to succeed, you're not going to get to the top unless there are special measures. And when those special measures fail, you need more special measures. You need quotas, you need arrangements, you need some kind of special arrangement of one kind or another. And the net result of that, of course, is, first of all, you end up discriminating against other people. And secondly, you often promote people who aren't any good. And thirdly, even when they get in there, and they are close to the top, they still think that they're not good enough. Let me take an example. The proof of the pudding is in... Shh. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. We have had in this country one woman prime minister. One woman prime minister. We had Margaret Thatcher. We had one woman prime minister who said, I am not a feminist and feminism is poison. And she meant that because she felt that she was able, and if she could do it, other women could, and she was right to come through the system long before equality. She did not bleat about how men were going to hold her back. She did not say that I've got to wait until the rules change. She did not say there's got to be quotas. She just went for it. In 1975, when she saw a vacancy for the leadership of her party, she went for it. Now, we have a very distinguished cabinet minister sitting, former cabinet minister sitting here on the other side. Has there yet been a woman leader of the Labour Party? No. Will there be at the next election a woman, a Labour Prime Minister? No. And one of the reasons is that last time they had a chance to stand, there were 81 Labour women MPs, and only one stood, and that was Diane Abbott. Harriet Harman didn't stand. The Honourable Lady sitting opposite didn't stand. When push came to shove, and they're all feminists now, when the chance came to lead their great party, when the chance came to fight an election where they might actually become Prime Minister of this country, they chickened out. That's what feminism does to you. That's what feminism... The moment you start blaming other people, the moment you start blaming other people... Hang on a minute. I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. This is the message that I want everyone here to take. That the women, shall I say especially, but also the men. This is the message I want you to take. There is absolutely nothing stopping you. Do not let the feminists tell you that it's some man's fault if you don't get on. Do not let anybody tell you that because there aren't lots of women at the top now, that you can't do it, because you can. You can. You have to put yourself in a position where you can. You have to stand for it. You have to. Do not stand for feminism, but when there's an opportunity, you take it. And to take that opportunity with any chance of success, you need to get the best education you can, you're right here. You need to acquire the skills, you're right here. You need absolute determination and single-mindedness, and you need the one word we haven't heard yet tonight. You need courage. And, Madam President, everyone here, I wish you the very best of luck.